So we are back with another weekend of Championship football, and we do have some tricky games to predict coming up this weekend, so I'm excited to see how you guys are calling these ones. As always, all this weekend's fixtures will be in the description down below so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions, and if you do successfully manage to get any of them correct, your comment will be included at the start of the next video. And speaking about your comments, I will include them on screen now from last week's score predictions. As there wasn't an episode of the Championship roundup for last week, then I didn't get a chance to include your comments in the video, so there they are on screen now, so fair play to everyone who did successfully manage to get a prediction right. It was a bit of a tricky weekend with the FA Cup and Championship both going on at the same time, but everyone's in action in the Championship this weekend, and I can't wait to get into it. So without further ado, let's hop into my score predictions. So we'll start the predictions out at St Andrews, where we got Birmingham going up against Blackburn Rovers. Now the home side does still hold out a chance of making it into the top 6 at the end of the season, and this is a game where they're going to be targeting all 3 points. Going up against a Rovers side who hasn't been in good form in the Championship recently. They've lost their last 4 matches now, and that's coming off the back of a really good run of form they were in January as well. Blackburn lately, things haven't quite been sticking for them. They've not really been scoring too many goals as of late, and they are going up against the Birmingham side who have been a little bit unpredictable in the Championship recently. Their last 2 results have been really contrasting for Birmingham. They came off the back of a fantastic 4-3 away victory against QPR, where Lee Camp was able to save a last-minute penalty save. They couldn't then follow that up in midweek as they lost to Bolton Wanderers 1-0 at home, so they'll be looking to bounce back in this game. Honestly, I don't see all too many goals being scored in this one. I think it will be quite a tight affair, and despite Blackburn being on quite a bad run of form in the Championship at the moment, I still get that inclination that they will turn this around sooner rather than later. If players like Dak and Armstrong can get back to their best in this one, they can press Birmingham going in behind, try and open up some spaces and pockets going in behind, and Birmingham have shown a couple of vulnerabilities in those situations so far this season. That's probably highlighted in the QPR game they had, but for this one, I'm going to back the home side for a slim 1-0 home victory. I don't think there'll be all too much in it, but Birmingham may just edge this one, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. And then we got Brentford going up against Hull City. I think this one's going to be a decent game of football. Brentford at home especially have been looking good lately in the Championship. They've won 4 of their last 5 matches in the Championship. We'll just ignore that game they had in the FA Cup against Swansea, but scoring goals hasn't been a problem for this Brentford side. They've scored 9 goals in their last 3 home matches in the Championship. Going up against this Hull side who have been fairly good in the Championship so far. They are set above Brentford in the table at the moment, and both sides currently find themselves in a weird part of the table. Brentford are on 40 points, Hull on 44. They're in that position where neither of them are going to be relegated, but it's going to take a really big push if either of them is going to make it into the top 6 at the end. I think that this season now for both of them is about us finishing as high as possible, and like I said, I think that this one will be a good game of football. There'll be a couple of goals scored in it, and I could see it going either way, but I'll just back Brentford for a 2-1 home victory. I think that home advantage may play into Brentford's hands for this one. At home so far, I've been quite impressed with them, so I'll just back Brentford for a 2-1, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1. And then we got Leeds United going up against Bolton Wanderers. The interesting thing about Leeds and Marcelo Bielsa is he actually announces the Leeds team sheet a couple days before the game goes on, so obviously with the news of Kamal Roof being out injured for Leeds, it's looking like it will be Roberts coming into that number 10 position to play behind Bamford, who will be looking to be Leeds' main talisman for the rest of this season. They're going up against a Bolton side who are coming off the back of an absolute thrashing against Norwich City. In that game, Norwich absolutely dismantled this Bolton side. Bolton, I'm in no doubt they'll come to Ellen Road and look to sit in 2 deep blocks, look to nullify this Leeds squad for as long as possible, but you get the feeling that if Leeds are really on their A game for this one, they could completely go to town in this Bolton squad. But Leeds at the moment, I feel like with them playing now and them playing in midweek as well, I think they've got a game against QPR, it's a good chance now for Leeds to really kick on for the rest of this season, get a bit more momentum. If they do win their 2 games, then they will go back to the top of the Championship, so it's a good chance for Leeds to do that. For this one, I'm going to back the home side for a 3-0, quite a convincing home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-1 Leeds. And then we got Middlesbrough going up against QPR. Now QPR in the Championship have been involved in some ridiculously dramatic games. That was shown in midweek with the loss they had against West Brom. West Brom's got a last-minute winner in that game, and QPR at the moment just can't seem to find any luck with things happening in the later stages of games. They had it happen against Birmingham as well, with Lee Camp saving a last-minute penalty against them, and they're on a really torrid run of form in the Championship at the moment, although their performances haven't actually been that bad. They're going up against a Borough side who I thought looked quite good in their last game in the Championship, a 1-0 away victory against Blackburn Rovers. John Obi Mikel has slotted straight into that midfield, and the Borough fans love him already. Assombalonga and Fletcher are looking good going forward, and some bad news potentially for QPR is that Luke Freeman could be a doubt coming into this game. When I'm recording this video, it's not clear if he is going to be back or not, and with most of QPR's chances going forward coming through Luke Freeman, that'll be a real big blow going into this one. I'm going to back Borough for a 2-0 home victory in this game. I fancy them to just edge out QPR in this one, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 QPR. And then we got Millwall going up against my team, Preston, off end in the next game. Now, Millwall picked up a fantastic result in midweek, beating Derby away from home by 1-0. In many ways, it was the perfect away performance from them. They kept their shape about them, kept it tight at the back, didn't let Derby get a lot of space in behind. Then they managed to hit them on the counter-attack, and Jed Wallace managed to score the winner as Millwall walked away from that one with all 3 points. Going up against Preston, this one, honestly, I don't see there being all too much in it between these two sides. At times this season, Preston have struggled going up against sort of physical teams, you know, with Jake Cooper being a massive threat going forward in the box for Millwall, with how many goals and assists he's got for them so far this season. Defending set pieces has been a little bit of an issue for Preston, although we have seemingly shaped up with our defensive issues lately. Preston, our last game in the Championship, a 0-0 draw against Nottingham Forest. I thought that there were quite a few tired legs in that one. I think having this week off from playing will have done us good, and hopefully with Millwall having the game in midweek, they may be a little bit more jaded going into this one. Preston currently find themselves in a very good run of form in the Championship. We're unbeaten in our last 7 matches now, and maybe, you know, could have a late push towards the playoffs, although I think that may be a bit too far of a stretch for us at the moment. For this one, I don't think there'll be too much in it between the two sides. I'm going to say it'll finish as a 1-1 draw. The Den can be quite a tough place to go to, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Millwall. And then we've got a massive game coming up between Norwich and Bristol City. Now, this is probably one of the hardest games to call this weekend, so I'm very excited to see what you guys are saying for this one. Bristol City in the Championship, they've won their last 7 matches, but they're going up against the Norwich side, who are currently sat top of the Championship and looked absolutely fantastic in their last game in the Championship, blowing Bolton away, and there really were some fantastic attacking combinations in that game. Obviously, both teams have had sort of different strengths so far this season. Norwich's has been, you know, scoring last-minute goals and going forward, their attacking play has been superb. Bristol City being very tight at the back, they don't tend to concede many goals. It's really an interesting battle, this one. Obviously, Timu Pukki has been the player in form for Norwich City lately. He's been scoring the majority of their goals, but that whole team for them has been playing absolutely superbly. Despite the game they had against Preston, they bounced back fantastically against Bolton, and honestly, Bristol City have a very tough run in from now until the end of the season. They've still got everyone to play in the top 6, and it's games like this which is going to define Bristol City's season as to whether they will make it into the top 6 at the end of the season. Bristol City do have a bit of a buffer though, you know, after Derby did lose that game midweek. That does take a little bit of the pressure off them coming into this one. It wouldn't surprise me if this one was to end level, but with Norwich going for the league this season, I feel like they may just edge this one with... Oh, it's a really tough one. I'm just going to back Norwich for a 2-1 home victory, although I wouldn't be surprised to see Bristol City get something out of it. I'll say 2-1, and FIFA's going to agree with me. And then we got another massive game going on, this time at the bottom of the Championship between Reading and Rotherham. Now, this game has, I've got to say, it has a draw written all over it. Both teams have been drawing a lot of games in the Championship recently. Rotherham have drawn their last 4 matches, and despite Reading having a win and a loss as their last 2 games, before that they were also drawing quite a few games in the Championship. It's going to be a very cagey game of football. There's not going to be much in this one. Rotherham did get quite unlucky in their last game not to pick up all 3 points against the Sheffield Wednesday side, who levelled that one up late on. I think that most people have come to the conclusion now that Ipswich are pretty much down, and barring a pretty major miracle, Bolton are probably going to go in the same direction. So that last relegation spot really is between these two sides at this point in time, and so if any of them was to take advantage and pick up all 3 points in this one, it would be a massive statement of intent for the rest of the season, as both of them do have a pretty hard fixture list, I must say. Barring this game, for the rest of the season, they've both still got quite a few of the top 6 still to play. It wouldn't surprise me at all if this one was to head in the direction of a draw, but I've just got a feeling that maybe being the home side, Reading may be able to edge this one, with Rotherham being a little bit inconsistent away from home so far this season. They've not really been able to get into their full flow away so far. So for this game, I will back Reading for a 1-0 home victory. It's going to be a very tight one, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Rotherham. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are saying for that one. And then we've got Sheffield Wednesday going up against Swansea City. This is another game going on this weekend, which I don't see all too much in it between the two sides. They're in similar positions in the Championship at the moment. I think that if Wednesday do win this one, then they'll go level on points with Swansea. So far, under Steve Bruce as well, Wednesday have found themselves unbeaten, albeit 3 of those last games have been draws, although they've been going in the right direction. They've steadied up their defence a little bit. Their last game was a very dramatic draw against Rotherham United, as they equalised that one in the last minute, and Forestieri got sent off in the process. He will be suspended for this game, which is obviously going to be a blow for the home side. It'll be interesting to see how Bruce does rotate the squad, looking to deal with Forestieri's absence. Going up against the Swansea side, who have been a little bit up and down in the Championship lately. They've only won 1 of their last 4 matches, although the performances in general I don't think have been that bad. It's another game where I wouldn't be surprised to see this one heading towards a draw, really. Swansea have got the players in there to go on and win this game, but with Wednesday looking a lot better defensively, defensively under Bruce so far, and with them having that bit of bite about them like we saw in that Rotherham game, I'm going to back this one to finish as a 1-1 draw. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-0 Swansea. And then we got Stoke City going up against Aston Villa. Now this is a game between two teams and two sets of fans who I don't feel like are in a brilliant mindset at this point in time. I don't think that either side will be particularly confident going into this one. Aston Villa are without a win in their last 4 championship matches, and Stoke, I mean, well, Stoke have just been pretty bad so far this season, albeit Stoke have drawn their last 2 matches in the Championship, although they have been draws against sides below them in the Championship, a draw against Wigan, a goalless draw, and a draw against Ipswich Town, where Ipswich were able to level that one up in the last minute. Most instances we've seen of Stoke going up against the side above them so far this season, they've been completely outclassed, apart from the game they had against Leeds United, which seems to be a bit of an anomaly in Stoke's season so far. But Dean Smith and Aston Villa have really hit a rocky patch in their season so far. I still feel as if Dean Smith needs time for this squad. You know, he needs a couple of transfer windows, and eventually he'll be able to get this style of play across to this Villa squad. You know, he's trying to overhaul the team, really. And despite Stoke picking up in the Championship lately, I'm gonna fancy Villa to get back to winning ways, although I don't say that with a lot of confidence. I'll say that this one will finish 2-1 to Aston Villa. FIFA's gonna back Villa for a 2-0 away victory. I'm not so sure. I don't say that very confidently. And then we've got Wigan Athletic going up against Ipswich Town. Now, Wigan found themselves unbeaten in their last 3 Championship matches, a win and 2 draws. That's meant that they've been able to pull away from the relegation zone a little bit. There's 5 points in that at this point in time, but with Reading and Rotherham meeting each other this weekend, if one of those sides comes out of that game with 3 points, that could drag Wigan back down into the bottom 3 pictures. So it's important that Wigan continue this run of form they're under at this point in time. They're going up against an Ipswich side who have been fairly poor on the road so far this season, although their performances haven't actually been that bad in recent weeks. They've got some players going forward who I've liked the look of. Alan Judge I've been a big fan of since arriving at Ipswich. His set piece deliveries have been excellent. He delivered the last minute equaliser for Will Keane to head in against Stoke, and Ipswich definitely do have some danger men going forward, but I feel like Wigan should be targeting 3 points for this game. Josh Windass is a player who's come back into form for the home side lately. Leon Clark, another player who's going to look to cause problems. I think that Wigan may just edge out this one. I'll back the home side for a 1-0 victory, with FIFA agreeing with me. And another one of the big games going on this weekend is between West Brom and Sheffield United. Only 1 point separates these two sides in the Championship at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to this game. The reverse fixture earlier on this season, it was West Brom who came away with all 3 points, beating Sheffield United at Brom Lane by 2-1, and it was probably, I'd say, one of West Brom's best performances of the season so far, that game. Gareth Barry had an absolute stormer in that one, scored a very good goal in it as well. West Brom in their last game, it was a very dramatic one against QPR. They walked away with all 3 points, beating them by 3-2, with Jake Livermore scoring a last minute winner in that one. We also saw Murphy and Montero get on the score sheet in that one as well, after losing Harvey Barnes. Those two have looked to soften the blow. But recently, Sheffield United's record against the top 6 has been fairly consistent. They beat Middlesbrough, they drew against Norwich, they beat Derby as well. And I see Sheffield United setting up for this game in a similar way they did for that game they had away at Carrow Road, where that one ended as a 2-2 draw. West Brom are going to be bolstered by the returning Dwight Gale, who's coming back into the squad after his suspension. Obviously, that's going to be an added bonus for them. And for this game, I'm going to say it'll finish as a 2-2 draw. I can't split these two at the moment. I'll say 2-2. FIFA's going to say 1-0 West Brom. And then for our last game to predict, we got the Monday game going on between Nottingham Forest and Derby County. This one could be a tasty encounter. In this fixture, it is Derby who's had the better of the two sides over the past few years. They're unbeaten against Nottingham Forest in their last 6 encounters. However, looking at the form of the two sides, it's got to be Forest who I am fancying going into this one. After Derby's performance in midweek against Millwall, it left a lot to be desired, really. They only had 1 shot on target for that game. Roos probably should have done better with the goal they conceded as well, and just overall it was a very bland performance from this Derby squad. There's possibly an argument to be made that at times so far this season Derby have maybe been a little bit too over-reliant on someone like Harry Wilson, and with his form dropping off lately, Derby haven't quite looked the same side going forward. They're going up against the Nottingham Forest side who, albeit they have drawn 2 of their last games in the Championship, however, their performances have been very encouraging. I must say, they got quite unlucky not to beat us at Deepdale, and the same could be said about the game they had against West Brom, where they were on the receiving end of a bit of a dodgy decision in that one, which has been the case for a few Forest games so far this season. Defensively, though, I have been very impressed by Nottingham Forest recently. They've not been allowing a lot of chances to be created against them, and going up against the Derby side, who have been looking a little bit flat going forward, honestly, I don't think there'll be too many goals scored in this game. The reverse fixture earlier in the season ended as a goalless draw, and it wouldn't surprise me if this game was to head in a similar direction. For prediction, I'm gonna fancy Nottingham Forest just to edge this one by 1-0. It wouldn't surprise me if this one was to play out as sort of a bland 0-0, but I'll just back Forest for a 1-0 home victory. But there you have it, they're all the games going on this weekend in the Championship, so do let me know in the comments down below what are your score predictions going into this weekend. But apart from that, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video, so if you're going to enjoy, make sure you leave a like, it is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular Championship content, but apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.